Hello, everybody. I'm back. Today, we're going to be talking with Karen Young. Hi, Karen. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you, because we're talking about my favorite subject.
Oh, okay. So we're going to talk about how to launch a cosmetic line. And I brought to you Karen, who is a cosmetic or beauty pro when it comes to this
so
stuff.
They tell me.
And so she's going to talk to us about the landscape, how we can attempt to launch something, and then you're going to give us some tips, right?
It's some secret tips.
Ooh,
sauce.
secret tips.
Yes, secret
I'm
tips.
super excited about this. Okay, so if I wanted to launch a product, how would I go about doing it?
Well, first of all, you need thick skin, a fair
Oh,
amount of
no.
money, I know, I'm sorry, and a really good idea. It is very, very competitive. We're launching in the United States about 1,000 indie brands a year.
1,000
It's
indie brands.
incomprehensible. And the statistics, I hate to do reality check here.
Are not with me?
The statistics are not good.
Okay, what is it?
According to McKinsey, 80% of the launches, and it's not just in beauty, it's startups in pretty much any industry in the United States, 80% won't last 2 years. But don't get discouraged.
Wow.
Don't get discouraged.
I
Because my secret sauce is going to help you out here. There are things that you can do when you jump into the beauty industry to at least put the meter on your side, and we'll talk about those. But it is highly competitive. You need a great idea that isn't out there, obviously, or a new story to tell, or a new technology, and
So you're going to be bringing something new to the table. Don't expect to do the same old stuff.
No, because it's a very mature, saturated market, as I'm sure everybody who's listening to us knows, and it's tough to find that white space. The good news is, it's simple, it's not easy. It is simple to launch a brand thanks to the internet.
Right.
Nobody has to go into Macy's anymore. And there are lots of resources for doing that. There are an enormous amount of trade shows, as we know, where you can find experts to help you do that. But it's a journey.
Okay, so you need to know, you're saying there's steps. There's achievable steps. If you know what the steps are, you're going to have more success. But that doesn't mean it's easy. You're going to still have to put in a lot of hard work. Well, that's why I've invited you today.
Okay.
So
the pressure's on.
The pressure is on, yeah. So you've been in the beauty industry for a long time. You have a lot of experience, right? Okay.
I do. It's the only industry I know, which is pathetic, but it's so much fun. Why wouldn't you want to do this?
And so you've been able to grow with it. What companies have you worked at?
I grew up at Estee Lauder in marketing and product development, and then I went to the Lancôme brand at L'Oreal, their prestige division, and I was vice president of marketing and product development there for many years.
Wow.
And that was really when we began to sort of see this scratching at the surface of small brands, makeup artist brands, physicians wanting to launch skincare. And I said, you know what, I'm done with this corporate thing. I really want to go play on the sidewalk with these young brands with all this energy. So I set up my own consulting company many years ago. Don't do the math. And so I split my business. I still, strangely enough, work with Estee Lauder and L'Oreal. I do projects for them. But my true love is helping young brands get into the market.
That's fantastic, because a lot of people that watch me are small, up and coming formulators and people who are making their own cosmetic problems and a lot of products, and a lot of them want to do their own.
Well, kudos
brands.
for all of you, because the beauty of this industry is, pardon the pun, there's always room for a great idea, a new concept, somebody with an authentic story to tell that's carved out, even if it's a niche market, and sometimes that's better, that you're really speaking to someone who has perhaps a specific issue, a specific want, because as I love to tell people in the beauty industry, as I love to remind people, we make products people want, not products that people need. Right? Although I would dispute that, because we need our beauty products, but I'm just saying, we make products that people want. So we have to make them, we have to be passionate about the products we're creating, and we have to make sure we're creating love so that people are dying and obsessed to come and play with us.
I was going to ask you really quickly, what makes the new world of beauty so competitive? Or was it, there wasn't as many players as one time? How did things open up?
The internet, honestly, the ability for a brand to speak directly to the consumer today, because up until, let's say, 10 years ago, you were going through the retailer. retailer, whether you were in a department store or in a mass market store, and you were relying on the retailer to get your brand message out. Okay, you could do some television advertising or some print, does anybody know what print advertising is? Never mind. But today you have a voice as a brand. It's your blog, it's your website. Right. You are talking directly to the consumer and getting that instant feedback. So there's this intimate relationship that didn't exist before.
And we're no longer dependent anymore, right? Like we can create our own pathway and bring our product to the people who like it.
And that's exhilarating, and it just opens up all kinds of doors and all kinds of opportunities.
Excellent. I want to pause here for a moment because we have some people here joining us. Hi, Mohammed. It's nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Nina Molina. Hola. How are you doing? Let us know where you're from. Danny Monty. I recognize you from an earlier video.
Amazing.
Thank you for joining us again. I have Karen Young here.
This is so cool.
And if you've ever wanted to start your own beauty brand, I know I've fantasized about it. If you have too, then we brought you Karen to talk about some tips to get you to be able to navigate the chaos that's currently out there in the beauty industry, right? To help you launch your brand. So you have some tips for us.
Well, advice. Okay. You know, it's tough to. It is a difficult, challenging, as you know, complicated industry. Mm-hmm. It is self-regulated. There is no guidebook saying, here are the top 10 rules to launching your own product. So I continue to say that number one, you really have to have a great idea. And that can be a concept, a product, a technology, something that doesn't exist, a problem, something, whatever it is, but it has to be amazing. And then you have to do your homework, because you really need, at the rate young brands are launching, you really have to know what's going on out there. You have to be aware of who's playing in the same space I want to play in, how are they doing it, how are they talking about it, and what's different with my story, and how can I get that consumer to come and play with me.
Right, so not only a cool idea, but you need to know your market. So that's very important. That's where the business side comes in.
You really do. And sometimes I will have young indie owners say, but I want to sell to everybody. That's not really a target market. You really do need to define whom you're talking to. It's like having a conversation. If I'm talking to you, we're going to have an intimate dialogue. I want to learn about you. I want to speak directly to you. That's very different from talking to a room full of people.
True.
And as a brand, we really want to have this one-on-one dialogue. So that's very important.
So when you say market, it would be like, would it be like 23 to...
I would even go smaller.
Oh, smaller, okay.
I love to pick a person as my target market so that I really know who she is. What kind of music does she listen to? What kind of food does she eat? What does she wear? Does she like color? What kind of car does she drive? Does she have a pet? Because then I start to know who she is.
Right.
And then my brand can really speak directly to her, not like over her head and to her 14 friends.
So identifying the person's lifestyle maybe.
Really intimately, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
And then you need some experts in your life. You need some people to point out the speed bumps, because there are many.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how did you learn?
The hard way.
Actually, like we all do.
Yeah, exactly. I was at Estee Lauder a long time ago, and actually then marketing and product people were trained. Companies don't do that anymore. There's no time. You hit the ground running and you figure it out. And the same is true of indie brands getting into this industry. They learn by making mistakes. Right. So find somebody who can help you point out where those mistakes might be, and let's go around them or over them, not crash into them.
There's going to be mistakes anyway, I imagine.
It's inevitable, because our industry is half science and half art.
Yeah.
Creating product is an art. So there's no right or wrong, there's no rules. As I said, there's no handbook.
That's kind of the beauty of it in some ways.
Don't you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, scary, don't get me wrong, very scary, but also really beautiful. I want to acknowledge some people who have joined us really quickly. We have Skin Thana. Hi, it's good to see you. I'm here with Karen, and she is giving us some advice on how to launch a beauty brand. I also have Midsamar. Thank you so much for joining. Nina Molina, you're from Argentina. This chat is amazing. Thanks for sharing. Well, thank you, Karen, for being here here. I really appreciate it, and sharing your expertise with all of us. So remind me again, what companies did you work for previously before you launched your own?
Before I launched my own, I was at Estee Lauder for many years on the Estee Lauder brand, and then I was in L'Oreal working on the Lancome brand.
You got it.
And then I said, time to be an indie. Let's join the, let's join the fun here.
And it sounds like you're really busy, so there's plenty of indie brands to help out.
So much fun. The industry is just great, and despite the fact that no one seems to quite know where the economy's going, everybody wants beauty products, guys. I mean, why not? Right? You can't have too much red lipstick. Here, really, I must have 500 of them.
It's very uplifting, right?
It is.
Cosmetics is a play space now, too.
Truly.
Even more so than I think it was in the past.
Yeah,
exactly. So save your questions for Karen. I'm going to let you continue with the advice, but if you have any questions, save them towards the end, and we'll make sure to try to get them all answered.
Okay.
All right. What other advice do you have for us?
Well, there's the question of money. This doesn't happen for free. And
we forget about that, don't we? Don't come with empty pockets.
I have a reality check tab on my website, and one of the reality checks is it will cost twice as much as you think.
Twice as much as you think.
People hate hearing this, but the fact is, while you can make a product in your kitchen and have your neighbor build a website and put it up, there's a lot more to it than that.
Okay.
And creating formulas, buying packaging, influencers, you need a marketing strategy to drive people to your website. All of this costs money, and the issue is because of the enormous competition, you need enough money to stay in the market. So you launch, but what are you going to do for the first 2 years while you're building your audience?
I didn't think of that. It takes
Nobody does.
2 years. It takes 2 years.
Usually takes
to launch.
4.
4
It usually
years.
takes 4 years on average.
Whew, so be patient. It's not impossible. She's saying not
be
impossible.
patient.
Be patient.
Is excellent advice. It takes twice as long and costs twice as much as everybody thinks it's going to, because you have to find the right ingredients and find the right formulator and find the right packaging. And you think you've got a website, and tomorrow you change your mind. I want the homepage to look at. It takes a long time.
So it's really just like life, where you intend to do this certain thing, and you kind of take this really
it is like
weird
life. Yeah, it just takes longer.
It just takes longer.
So you sort of have to love the journey. You have to love doing the homework. You have to love discovering that you don't know as much as you thought you knew.
Right.
You have to love the exploration, because that is part of the process. And the more time you spend doing your homework, the better off you will be once it's your turn to get that formula in that package and get it on your website.
That's great. Now, one thing you mentioned earlier that I want to bring up is you also mentioned that you have to follow the trends. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, you have to sort out what's a fad and what's a trend.
Oh, that's a good point.
And
okay.
there are some enormous trends today that are very consumer driven, and we all know the wonderful power of today's consumer. She's really the one making decisions, certainly about what she's purchasing, and the old days of advertising driving something, as we used to say, Madison Avenue driving the trends. No, it's the consumer today. And
so it's you. You guys are more empowered than you've ever been.
Completely true. And I would say the biggest category that's affecting the beauty industry is this notion of health and wellness. And as you all know, it's not just beauty, it is nutrition, it is managing stress, it is getting enough sleep, it is exercising, getting fresh air, having a significant other in your life, we know is excellent for your health. So beauty is only one piece of that. And consumers are very aware of that today. They don't think that if my skin's not great, if I just get the right cream, it'll fix my skin. Not if you're not sleeping, spending hours on an airplane, eating garbage food, and never getting outside and getting some clean, fresh air.
Right.
So I think that's really, if I had to pick one, that is the biggest consumer driver.
Okay.
So she's looking at all parts of her life. She's trying to buy more nutritious food, and food and beauty are very linked.
Right.
So at the same time, she's reading ingredient labeling on her beauty products, saying, do I understand what's in here?
Right. So it's the wellness trend.
It really is. It's huge. And that leads us into wellness for the planet, which is sustainability, and that whole gigantic topic of sustainability and recycling and clean beauty is then feeding right off of that very holistic approach to taking care of ourselves. It's a huge driver.
Fantastic. I was going to ask you one more question. I don't know if you can share it.
Oh, well, okay.
But maybe some brands that you've worked with and areas that you've worked with them in. So while you're thinking about that, I'm going to look to you guys, and I want to know if you guys have any questions for Karen. She is helping us understand what it takes to launch your own cosmetics line. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. Let's see who's joined us in the meantime. I have two people who've joined. Gabarone, hi, it's nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. I'm with Karen. And we have Farintosh Farms. Hello, thanks for being here. I really, really appreciate it. So do you have any examples to share with us really fast?
Favorite brands, favorite indie brands?
Sure,
some I've worked on and some I haven't. I think just some of my favorites that come to mind.
Okay.
There's a relatively new brand from a woman who has a long history in the industry, but she named the brand Beauty Pie. And if you, I know if anybody's, I know, isn't the name adorable? And she's working directly with contract manufacturers to keep the pricing down, but because she's an industry expert, she's making sure they're fabulous, high quality products.
Great.
So that's a current favorite. A company called Body Stones, which is skincare. This is a former pastry chef who lives in Brooklyn and started finding organic shea butter because she was having some skin issues of her own, molding the shea butter in pastry molds and making these wonderful, what she calls body stones in beautiful shapes. And she chose a kind of shea butter that has a very low melting point. So it looks like a bar of soap, but it's quite soft, and you actually rub it directly on your skin.
Nice, okay.
Beautiful, very simple ingredients, and she packages the stones in bamboo. So it's recyclable, reusable material, and she has an amazing story. I love the whole pastry chef coming in. Again, food moving into beauty.
It's a good example of how you were saying, like, you want to have a trend, right, which is like wellness, but then having your own take on it, having your own.
And that's why it's such a good example, because there's plenty of shea butter around, but here she's combining her love of food and pastry, using her pastry molds, and saying, you know what, I want something really clean and pure on my body because I want to know exactly what's going on my skin.
Right, so, that makes sense.
I know.
So we have two comments. Vincent says, that's such a great idea. That is pretty neat. And what I'll do is I will link to the brands that you've mentioned.
Oh, cool.
So that, you know, if you're aspiring to launch your own brand, you can
take a look.
Take a look at the brands. Yeah, maybe you get some ideas of your own. Nina Molina says, what is the knowledge I should have? Chemistry, biology, or just a thirst to make it?
Well, if you're not a chemist or a biologist, hire one, because what you need is the passion and the energy, because it's a long journey. You need the energy, the passion, and the goal. So if you're really driven to create something, if you're not a chemist or a biologist, find one of those to be part of your team and use their, you know what, you can't be an expert in everything.
That's a good point. There's so many things you have to deal with.
And that's why one of those key things you need is a really good team. You can't do it all. In the beginning, most founders do, and that's great. So you learn a little bit about all of those categories. But at the end of the day, you can't do sales and finance and product development and legal and distribution. I mean, oh my gosh.
How do people find their teams?
Homework.
Do your homework.
And join organizations in the category. So if you want to launch beauty products, come to trade shows.
Yes, well, just like this, we're at a trade show right now in cosmetics in New York City.
Exactly. Join Cosmetic Executive Women, network, and start building a resource list of those people you know you're going to need.
That's great. Build your community. And we're going to leave on that note. If you want to continue with this discussion, then you can catch us next on Facebook, okay? Look me up at Ms. Beautifile on Facebook, and I will put some information about you and some of your articles into the description later on of this video so that you guys can check them out, okay? All right, see you later. Bye.